Oh, hi. Just reading a little book. You know, I used to read a lot more when I was a kid. There was a bit more motivation back in elementary and middle school. We had this program called Accelerated Reader. Maybe you had it too. What you would do is pick out a book from the library, you'd take a little test on the computer, and when you got done, you would get rewarded points, depending on how hard the book was. Now, at the end of every quarter, they would round up the points and they would give out little rewards, stupid little things, like a cup or something. But whatever, we were kids, it was fun. The easiest way to rack in the points, for me, was to read book series. Now, by book series, I mean things like Goosebumps and Fear Street and Wayside Stories. Those were the best. But there was one book series that I just hated. It took one book for me to realize that this was stupid, and it wasn't worth the material it was printed on. That book series was Animorphs. I thought it'd be good, at least. Kids transforming into animals to stop an alien invasion. It's just out there enough to be interesting to a kid. But it suffered one problem. Other than the fact that there are 52 of these fucking things, the books contained very little excitement. There were only a handful of books that actually had the Animorphs fighting the aliens. All the other books were about the kids finding an animal to touch so that they could take their powers. But for every person like me who hated the Animorphs, there was a billion other people who thought it was the best thing ever. So one thing led to another, and we got a TV show, which led to cheap knockoff Transformer toys, and then we came full circle to a video game. And that's where I get pulled back into the Animorphs universe. Please join me as I play Animorphs: Shattered Reality. So the game gives us a rundown of the story. Some alien that studies space comes across Earth, only to discover that Earth is already being invaded by a race of aliens known as the Yeerk, and humans are being turned into mindless slaves. The leader of the Yeerks is building a weapon powered by some sort of crystal, but when he starts jamming things where they don't belong, the crystal creates an explosion so powerful that it shatters reality itself. What that means? I don't know. It didn't say what that did exactly. Reality is just shattered, and now we have a catchy video game title. And Deathclaws. Because who didn't like those, right? So, without any explanation of what the Animorphs are supposed to be doing in this game, we pick a character and we begin our first mission. Oh, great. It's a platformer. Oh, the joys we'll be having this day. Now, I don't hate platformers. Far from it. It's just this is a boring and slow-paced platformer. There's no run button, so you don't get that feeling of momentum that gives you enough confidence to jump from one platform to the other. And on top of that, the obstacles in this game are bland and they're reused throughout the entire game. There's nothing new. I don't see what this game has to do with the Animorph franchise. We're just playing as a kid, collecting coins and jumping gaps until the level just stops. Speaking of levels, man are they dull and uninteresting. Spaceship, jungle, swamp, forest, meadow. It's all fucking green! Every now and then we get a little bit of combat. Some very lame, one-button combat. There's no special moves, just one claw swipe. Every animal has just the one claw swipe, with the only exception being the rhino. Then you get a headbutt. The problem is that it doesn't matter what character you pick. There's no stat differentiation. They're all the same. Super Mario Bros. 2 had 4 different characters, all had certain advantages over the other. What's the point of having a choice if they're all the fucking same? It's like an ice cream truck that has 10 different flavors, but they're all vanilla. It's not like the combat in this game lasts long enough to matter. After you kill the 2 or 3 enemies that spawn up, you go right back to being the stupid kid. And even so, the combat never lasts longer than 10 seconds, even when you're in a so-called boss fight. Graphically, the game looks like butt. That's all I can say. It's butt. I don't care how childish that sounds, graphics are butt. And I stand by that. I mean, just look at it. It's butt! I mean, the intro looked okay. It was about as good as it got, unless your CGI was done by Blizzard or Square Enix. But the game looks like blocks. Just moving blocks. They look terrible! The animals and enemies kinda look okay, but the kids you play as that you stare at for a good 95% of the game look like absolute shit. What's the deal? Speaking of animals, just look at this wolf. Look at his strut. Wolf don't give a fuck! The controls are damn near non-existent. You move and jump. That's it. The other buttons don't do shit. Every now and then there's a switch you gotta push with triangle, and then when you're an animal, you press square to attack. The PS1 has 8 buttons. You use no more than one at any given time. Way to innovate, guys! I have never been more bored in my life. Something has to happen soon. We're swimming, bitches! Fuck yeah! Ah, yes. Now that was fun. Well, the bar has been raised. This game can't possibly go any lower. Ow! Fuck! Well, with that being over, I will give the game credit. It has some pretty great music that I recommend you check out sometime. The best part is when your friends find it on your iPod, you don't have to say it's from the Animorphs video game, because they'll never know. It'll be our little secret. As you can tell, that one swimming level was the peak of our experience. From this point on, it's just more bad platforming. The landing detection is all off. There were several times where I clearly landed on a platform, but I just fell through like nothing was there. And then other times there were parts where your character just can't make it unless you wait for the exact moment. And that window of opportunity is very, very small. Yeah, that is all I can bear to take. The concept of the book should have given more than enough opportunity to make a great game. They could have made an awesome action game with all sorts of different characters with varying abilities, different animals, all that stuff. They could have even added co-op to make it more interesting. But no, we get a fucking platformer with less combat in it than the stupid books that they were written in. This game is fucking weak and I'm done with it. This game drives me insane with how terrible it is. It's boring, it's lame, and nothing good aside from the music came out of it. There is nothing in this world that benefited from this game's existence. At least the books had kids fucking reading something, and even the TV show educated kids on animals to a certain degree. The platforming is awful. The combat is awful. The visuals are awful. The controls are awful. This game is awful, awful, awful! Animorphs, you had a pretty great thing going. You had a successful book franchise, an okay TV show, toys that sold pretty well, but you had to fuck it all up. You had to do what every greedy company in this world does, and you had to make a shitty video game. You had to do what every other game company in this world decides they have to do. And that's make a shitty video game based on some bit-rate franchise. It makes me so fucking mad. I could just...
What if we just stopped making shitty franchise games? Maybe he'll just go away.
No, it's no use. He's right. There's only one thing on General Zilla's mind now. Dear God. No one tell him he's remaking Xena next week.